By 9 o'clock that Friday morning, my husband had sworn under oath that I was trying to steal his family's company. My commanding officer had received a complaint accusing me of abusing my rank, and a process server had placed papers in my hands demanding that I surrender control of the money I had spent 8 years protecting. The courthouse summons felt cold and damp against my palm. Rain tapped against the metal awning above the engineering office, sharp and steady, like fingernails drumming on a table. Diesel fumes drifted in from the vehicle yard. Somewhere behind me, a forklift gave a warning beep, then another, while soldiers moved pallets through the wet morning air. The process server stepped back and adjusted the collar of his jacket. "Major Hayes?" he asked. I looked at the envelope again. My full name was printed beneath the seal of the Fairfax Ridge County Circuit Court. Nicole Ellen Hayes. Defendant. "I'm Major Hayes," I said. He gave me the careful look people used when they expected shouting. "You've been served." The paper inside accused me of theft, sabotage, intimidation, and attempted seizure of Caldwell Construction. My husband's signature appeared beneath the first sworn statement. Ryan Caldwell, the man who had slept beside me for 10 years, had told a court that I was dangerous to his family. At 40 years old, after nearly 2 decades in the United States Army, I had learned how to hold still when everything inside me wanted to move. So, I folded the summons once. Then I placed it beneath the inspection clipboard in my hand. Captain Lewis stood near the loading bay watching me. "Ma'am," he said, "do you need a minute?" The wet paper pressed against my glove. "No," I said. "We still have 6 pallets to verify." 3 days earlier, the first crack had appeared in a place no one in the Caldwell family thought I would look. I was standing inside a half-finished maintenance facility, listening to rain hammer the temporary roof, when Sergeant First Class Bell rolled a steel fastener between his fingers. "This batch feels light," he said. The fastener made a thin clicking sound when it struck the inspection table. I picked it up. The metal was smooth, almost oily. Fresh-cut lumber filled the air with a sharp pine scent. My boots stuck slightly to the dusty concrete where moisture had blown in through an unfinished doorway. "What does the manifest say?" I asked. Bell turned the page on his clipboard. "High-tensile structural fasteners. Domestic supplier. Same specification as the approved sample." I set the new fastener beside the approved one. They looked nearly identical. I lifted each in turn. The difference was small, but it was there. "Bring me the scale," I said. Bell smiled faintly. "I knew you were going to say that." The new fasteners weighed less than the approved batch. The coding code was wrong. The supplier number led to a warehouse that did not manufacture structural hardware. Within an hour, we stopped the installation, documented the substitution, and froze payment until the contractor produced a valid chain of custody. Captain Lewis watched me compare the invoices. "How do you always catch these things?" he asked. "The numbers usually confess before people do," I said. My phone vibrated against the inspection table. An email from Commonwealth Veterans Bank appeared on the screen. The subject line read, "Proud partners in building homes for those who served." I almost deleted it. Then I saw my own face. The bank's advertisement showed me standing between Ryan and his parents at a charity gala. I wore my Army service uniform. My ribbons caught the ballroom lights. Ryan had one hand around my waist. Evelyn Caldwell stood on my other side, smiling as if she had raised me herself. Beneath the photograph, the message described Caldwell Construction as a military family business, built on service, sacrifice, and trust. I had never approved the advertisement. I stepped away from the inspection table and called Ryan. He answered on the 4th ring. "Hey," he said. "I'm in the middle of something. I'm looking at a bank advertisement with my photograph on it." Silence lasted half a second too long. Then Ryan exhaled. "My mother probably reused one of the gala pictures. The advertisement includes my rank. It's public information, Nicole. My rank is not a family marketing asset." Ryan lowered his voice. "Can we not do this while I'm at work? You are at Caldwell Construction. This is about your work." "It's one picture." "It is a bank advertisement." Another pause. In the background, I heard a door close. Ryan said, "The bank wanted something personal. Mom gave them something personal." "Did they use that photograph in a credit application?" His voice sharpened. "Why would you ask that?" "Because banks do not usually build advertisements around random family photographs. You're turning this into something it isn't." "Then tell me what it is." Ryan sighed. "It's good publicity, that's all. Take it down." "Nicole, take my photograph down, Ryan." He ended the call without agreeing. That evening, I opened the quarterly shareholder report at the kitchen table. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator motor and the soft scrape of tree branches against the back window. Ryan had texted that he was staying late at the office. A cup of coffee cooled beside my elbow, leaving a dark ring on a folded grocery receipt. Caldwell Construction had nearly collapsed 8 years earlier. Scott Caldwell had called it a temporary cash flow problem. Ryan had called it his father's life's work. Evelyn had called me family. I had invested the savings I built through deployments, housing allowances, and years of saying no to things I wanted. The company survived. In return, I received preferred shares, inspection rights, and protections drafted by an attorney Scott had complained were unnecessary. He had signed them anyway. I turned another page. Material costs had increased sharply. Completed units had decreased. 3 new suppliers appeared throughout the report: Blue Ridge Material Services, North Star Procurement, Heritage Structural Consulting. Different names, different invoice numbers, the same spacing, the same narrow font, the same misspelling in the delivery address. Receiving was written as receiving on all 3 sets of invoices. I touched the first signature block, Nicole Hayes. The digital signature looked correct. The date did not. I had been on a military site visit outside Richmond that day. My access card records would prove it. So would my official travel authorization. I checked the next invoice. My name appeared again. Then again. The coffee beside me had gone bitter and cold. I opened my corporate email account and searched for signature requests. Nothing. I searched the deleted folder. Nothing. I tried to log into the electronic signature platform. The password failed. I entered it again, slower. The same red message appeared. Incorrect password. A small pulse began behind my right eye. I selected the account recovery option. The platform displayed a partially hidden telephone number. Only the final 4 digits were visible. I knew them immediately. They belonged to Ryan. I did not call him. I took photographs of the screen with my personal phone. Then I wrote down the exact time, the browser, the device, and every error message. At the bottom of the account page, a notice said security alerts had been sent to my registered corporate email. I searched again. New alert. No verification message. No notice that the recovery number had changed. The absence bothered me more than the false signature. Someone had not only entered my account, someone had made sure I would not know. The following night, Evelyn invited us to dinner. Her dining room smelled of roasted beef, furniture polish, and the lavender candles she lit whenever guests came. Scott sat at the head of the table beneath a framed newspaper article about Caldwell Construction's work for veteran families. Ryan barely looked at me. Evelyn raised her wine glass. To the bank extension, she said. Another year of stability. Scott smiled. To Ryan, he said, for keeping the company where it belongs. I placed my fork beside my plate. And where does it belong? Scott glanced at me. In the family. I own preferred shares. Scott chuckled. You invested money. Yes. That does not change where the company came from. I looked at Ryan. He focused on his plate. Evelyn reached across the table and touched my wrist. Her fingers were cool. Nicole, no one is diminishing what you contributed. What did I contribute? Evelyn gave me the patient smile she used before saying something cruel. Your investment helped. Your uniform opened certain doors. Your story made people feel comfortable. My story? You know what I mean, Evelyn said. No, I want to hear you say it. Scott's knife scraped across his plate. Evelyn withdrew her hand. The public trusts you, she said. You are disciplined, decorated, presentable. Presentable, I repeated. Ryan finally looked up. Nicole, stop. I kept my eyes on Evelyn. Did you authorize the bank to use my photograph? Evelyn's smile tightened. We used a family photograph to support a family company. I did not authorize it. You married into this family, Scott said. That did not transfer ownership of my face. Scott leaned back. Your uniform opened a few doors. Do not confuse the door with the house. The room went still. A clock ticked above the sideboard. Ryan lifted his water glass but did not drink. I could have argued. I could have asked whether they remembered whose money had kept their house, payroll, and company alive. Instead, I folded my napkin and placed it beside my plate. Scott mistook my silence for surrender. Evelyn mistook it for embarrassment. Ryan should have known better. The next morning, I sent a formal notice to the company accountant, the bank, Scott, Ryan, and corporate counsel. I requested preservation of all records involving the 3 suppliers. I invoked my inspection rights under the shareholder agreement. I disputed every electronic signature bearing my name until the provider authenticated the original access logs. I asked the bank to pause payments to the 3 suppliers, not the company's payroll or ordinary operating accounts. Every sentence was narrow. Every request was documented. I did not accuse anyone of theft. I asked them to preserve the evidence that would answer the question. Ryan called less than 10 minutes later. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I requested an audit. You froze our money. I paused payments to 3 unverified suppliers. You made us look like criminals. If the suppliers are legitimate, the review will prove it. You have no idea what this does to our credit. I know exactly what unverified signatures do to mine." Ryan went quiet. I continued. "Why is your phone number attached to my signing account?" His answer came too quickly. "It isn't. I am looking at it. Numbers can be spoofed. Recovery settings are not caller identification. You always do this," Ryan said. "You find one inconsistency and build a prosecution around it. I asked you a direct question, and I told you I don't know. Then we will let the provider explain it." His breathing changed. It became slower, controlled. When Ryan spoke again, his voice was cold. "You need to withdraw that notice before my father sees it." He received a copy. The line went silent. Then Ryan said, "You have no idea what you just started." He disconnected. By the next afternoon, a process server was standing beneath the metal awning at my workplace. The lawsuit quoted from my bank notice almost word for word. Only 5 people had received that message. The complaint said I was exploiting my military position to frighten lenders and seize control of a private company. It accused me of downloading confidential records, interfering with contracts, and threatening the financial survival of the Caldwell family. Attached to the complaint was Ryan's sworn declaration. I read it in my office after the inspection ended. Rainwater dried in pale marks across my boots. The room smelled of wet canvas and printer toner. My fingertips felt numb against the paper. Ryan claimed I had spent months threatening to take his father's company. He claimed I believed my rank placed me above civilian business rules. He claimed I had signed the disputed documents willingly, then denied them when our marriage became strained. At the bottom of the page, beneath his signature, he wrote that he feared I would use my government connections to destroy his family unless the court stopped me. I read the statement twice. Then I turned to the requested emergency relief. They wanted the court to remove my temporary voting protections, order me to surrender every copy of company data, prohibit me from contacting the bank, and restore Scott and Ryan's full control before the weekend. The hearing was scheduled within days, a speed that made no sense unless someone was running out of time. I returned to the electronic signature account. The security notice still claimed alerts had been sent to my corporate email. I opened the email settings instead of the inbox. A hidden rule had been added 3 months earlier. Any message containing the words security alert, verification, password reset, or authentication was automatically moved into an archive folder that did not appear in the normal menu. I opened that folder. It was empty. Someone had created the rule. Then someone had deleted the messages it captured. At the bottom of the settings page, the system displayed the administrator account that made the change. Ryan Caldwell. I sat very still. The refrigerator hummed from the kitchen. Rainwater whispered through the gutter outside. On the table beside me lay the lawsuit in which my husband swore I was lying. On the screen was proof that he had entered my account, redirected my security alerts, and attached his phone to my identity. Ryan had not been pressured into choosing his family over me. He had prepared for this, and he had started 3 months before I knew there was a war. Ryan had started 3 months before I knew there was a war. By sunrise, every cabinet in our home felt like evidence. Rain pressed against the windows. I stood in the kitchen with my corporate email open, and the lawsuit spread across the table. The coffee maker clicked behind me, but I had forgotten the cup. Hot coffee dripped onto the warming plate, filling the room with a scorched smell. The hidden mail rule remained on the screen. Created by administrator, Ryan Caldwell. I photographed the settings, then called Rachel Monroe, the commercial litigation attorney recommended by an Army legal assistance officer. Rachel answered before the second ring. "Do not change anything else in that account," she said after I explained. "Take photographs, write down the time, then close the system. Ryan has administrator access, which means anything you touch can be described as tampering. We preserve first, we investigate second." Rachel's office occupied the second floor of a brick building near the courthouse. Her conference room smelled of paper, lemon cleaner, and radiator heat. She wore a suit and read the complaint without interrupting. When she reached Ryan's declaration, her mouth tightened. "He claims you threatened to take the company," Rachel said. "I asked for records. He claims you used military contacts to pressure the bank. My email went to the bank because I am a shareholder, and disputed signatures carried my name. Rachel slid the complaint aside. Good. Narrow facts. No speeches. She opened the shareholder agreement. Scott had complained about it when it was signed, but he needed my money more than he hated the language. Rachel traced one paragraph. You hold preferred voting shares. Scott and Ryan pledged part of their common shares as security for your investment. Fraud, diversion of assets, or unauthorized debt gives you inspection rights and allows you to request an independent receiver. Does it give me control? Temporary voting authority under specific conditions, not ownership. A judge must recognize the breach. Judge Pike scheduled their emergency hearing within days. Rachel looked at the signature page. Then someone wants a ruling before you can prove it. That afternoon, I reported the lawsuit through my chain of command. Colonel Marcus Reed listened from behind a desk. Did Caldwell Construction receive any contract through your office? Colonel Reed asked. No, sir. Did you recommend them for military work? No, sir. Did you disclose the investment? Yes, sir. 8 years ago, with annual updates. He opened my ethics file and confirmed every disclosure. The hearing falls after your site inspection Friday, Colonel Reed said. You may attend in service uniform because the court moved the schedule and you will travel directly from duty. Legal will send written notice. Understood. Colonel Reed studied me. Until this is resolved, step back from public outreach events involving contractors or veteran housing. The restriction was temporary. It was also exactly the damage Evelyn wanted. I understand, I said. Outside his office, Ryan's message appeared. I need clothes and my laptop. I will come by at 6. He arrived at 6:12. Cold air entered with him. Ryan smelled of rain and the cologne I had given him for Christmas. He carried a duffel bag and avoided my eyes. I am only taking what I need, Ryan said. Your personal belongings are upstairs. He moved toward the staircase. Leave the company files, I said. They are mine, too. They are under a preservation request. You do not get to issue orders in this house. That was notice. Ryan went into our bedroom. Drawers opened. Hangers scraped across the closet rod. I remained in the hall. When he entered the home office, he opened his laptop. The screen woke before he could turn it away. My corporate mailbox appeared among the accessed accounts. Beneath it sat a folder labeled Archive Compliance. Ryan closed the window. You were in my email, I said. It is a company account. It carries my name. The company owns the domain. That does not authorize you to impersonate me. Ryan shoved the laptop into his bag. You are building a story because you want to believe I betrayed you. The lawsuit already tells that story. For 1 second, anger slipped, and fear showed beneath it. You need to stop digging, Ryan said. Why? Because you do not understand what happens if the bank panics. What happens? My father loses everything. You forged my signature to save him? I did not say that. You did not have to. Ryan zipped the bag. You always think the truth will protect you. It usually protects the person who kept records. His face hardened. Not when the judge decides which records matter. Ryan left, but the sentence stayed in the hall. He knew something about Judge Pike that I did not. Rachel called the next morning. We need to know whether Ryan is still watching your information, she said. He was logged into my corporate mailbox. Then we give him something to steal. Under Rachel's direction, I drafted an email to my private account. It referred to a forensic audit report that did not exist, and said the only copy was locked inside my home office safe until Monday morning. I left the message unread in the corporate mailbox. At 1:14 the next morning, my security camera sent an alert. Movement detected at rear entrance. I opened the live feed. Ryan stood beneath the porch light. He used the side door key he had never returned. The lock turned. He entered, crossed the kitchen, and walked straight toward my office. He did not call my name. The hallway camera captured him kneeling beside the safe. His hands moved with practiced certainty. The safe opened on his second attempt. Ryan searched every folder. Finding nothing, he sat back and stared into the steel box. Then he called someone. There is no report, Ryan whispered. She baited me. A man answered, but the microphone caught only fragments. Ryan listened. No, do not tell Dad yet. He left within 4 minutes. Rachel watched the recording the next morning. That gives us unlawful entry, evidence of monitoring, and consciousness of guilt, she said. But it does not prove financial fraud. Not yet. A forensic accountant named Thomas Grant joined us by video. He had searched public registrations for the 3 suppliers. All 3 used the same commercial mailbox, Thomas said. Same registered agent, no payroll records, no equipment liens, no warehouse leases. Who is the agent? Rachel asked. Scott Caldwell's former assistant. Thomas displayed the formation dates. North Star Procurement had been created 2 days before receiving its first payment. Heritage Structural Consulting had no licensed engineer attached to it. They are shells, I said. They look like shells, Thomas corrected. Now we follow the money. That afternoon, Rachel and I attended the preliminary hearing. Judge Raymond Pike entered without looking at our side. Scott rose. Ray, Scott said softly. Judge Pike glanced toward him. Sit down, Scott. The exchange lasted less than a second. During argument, Pike allowed Caldwell's lawyer to describe me as vindictive and obsessed with control. When Rachel asked to question the authenticity of my signatures, Pike tapped his pen against the bench. This is an emergency business matter, Judge Pike said. Not a digital fishing expedition. The signatures are the basis of their claim, Rachel replied. They are one part of it. Rachel lifted the shareholder agreement. So are Major Hayes's contractual inspection rights. Pike's eyes moved to my uniform photograph attached to the complaint. Major Hayes seems accustomed to giving orders, he said. I kept my hands folded. Rachel answered. My client invoked a written agreement. Pike gave us 3 days to respond, then announced the full emergency hearing would proceed Friday. Outside the courtroom, Evelyn approached with tears bright in her eyes. You are tearing apart this family, Evelyn said. You filed the lawsuit, I replied. Because you forced us. Scott stepped beside her. Withdraw the bank notice, Scott said. We can still handle this privately. Show me the original vendor records. Scott's expression changed. You do not dictate terms. I paid for the right to inspect them. Ryan stood behind his parents, silent. Rachel touched my arm. We are leaving. Back at her office, she opened the proposed order Caldwell's lawyer had submitted to Pike. The first pages restored Scott and Ryan's authority. The next pages barred me from contacting the bank or funders. The final paragraph required me to surrender all company data and permitted Caldwell Construction to destroy redundant materials after transfer. Rachel read that sentence twice. They are not asking for relief, she said. They are asking for time to erase the trail. Thomas called before sunset. I found a secured private loan, he said, large enough to collapse the company if called. When is it due? Rachel asked. Monday. Friday's hearing was not about winning the lawsuit. Scott and Ryan needed 3 days, and Judge Pike was preparing to give them exactly that. Friday's hearing was not about winning the lawsuit. Scott and Ryan needed 3 days, and Judge Pike was preparing to hand them those days before the bank could look closely enough to understand why. Thomas Grant expanded the loan documents across Rachel's conference table. My fingertips rested against the edge of the page, while Thomas traced a clause with his pen. The private lender can call the full balance if Caldwell loses access to its operating credit, Thomas said. How much? Rachel asked. Enough to force liquidation. I looked at the collateral schedule. Company equipment, receivables, real estate, Scott's voting shares, Ryan's voting shares. My preferred shares were listed as if they had been pledged too. I never approved this, I said. Thomas nodded. That is why they needed your electronic signature. Rachel leaned back. And why Friday matters. If Pike restores control, they reopen the credit line, reassure the lender, and spend the weekend moving anything that can be moved. Then Monday arrives, I said, and they claim the company is stable. Or empty, Thomas replied. The words settled over the table. My phone vibrated beside the loan agreement. An email from the Army Public Affairs Office asked me to withdraw from a scheduled veteran housing panel until the civil allegations were reviewed. I had spent years earning the trust attached to my name. Evelyn had borrowed that trust for advertisements, then used the lawsuit to make my own command question whether I deserved it. Rachel read the message from my face. What happened? She asked. I have been removed from a public outreach event. Temporarily? That word does not stop people from remembering why. Rachel closed the loan file. Then we give them something else to remember. That afternoon, the company issued a statement to employees and donors. Evelyn's name appeared beneath it. Major Nicole Hayes is experiencing a private marital crisis and has used confidential business information to pursue a personal grievance. Caldwell Construction remains committed to veteran families and is cooperating with all authorities. By evening, 2 soldiers in my unit had stopped talking when I entered the break room. I did not ask what they had heard. My phone rang as I walked toward the parking lot. Major Hayes? A man asked. Yes. My name is Samuel Reed. I supervise field operations for Caldwell Construction. I stopped beneath a security light. Rainwater dripped from the brim of my cap. "What do you need, Mr. Reed?" His breathing sounded uneven. "I think you need to see what they made us install." Rachel insisted Samuel meet us in her office, not mine and not his home. He arrived carrying a battered document case. Samuel placed photographs across the table. Hairline fractures ran through concrete foundations. Roofing panels showed labels from a cheaper manufacturer. Delivery tickets listed quantities far above what appeared in the photographs. "I reported all of it," Samuel said. "Scott told me the substitutions were temporary." "Temporary materials become permanent once people move in," I said. Samuel looked at me. "That is what I told him." Rachel pointed toward a signed inspection sheet. "This says the materials met contract specifications." "That is not my original report," Samuel said. "My report failed 3 sites. Who changed it?" "Scott sent it back through the office. When it returned, my signature was still there, but the failed items were gone." "Do you have the original?" Rachel asked. Samuel opened the document case and removed a flash drive. Photographs, delivery tickets, emails, and the reports before they were changed. Rachel did not touch it. "We need to document where that drive came from and who has possessed it," she said. "Until then, keep it with you." Samuel's fingers closed around the device. "If I testify, they will fire me." "They may," Rachel said. "My wife depends on my insurance." I knew what he wanted, a promise that courage would cost nothing. "I cannot tell you they will leave you unharmed," I said. "I can tell you those foundations will keep carrying families long after this lawsuit ends." Samuel looked down at the photographs. "I need a day," he said. "You have one," Rachel replied. After he left, Thomas sent us the first canceled check from North Star Procurement. The company's name appeared on the front. Scott Caldwell's signature appeared on the back. Rachel enlarged the image. "He endorsed a check issued to an independent supplier," she said. "He will call it reimbursement," Thomas replied through the speakerphone. "We still need the account receiving the funds." Ryan asked to meet me the next morning at a diner near the courthouse. Rachel advised me to go only if the conversation occurred in a public place, and Virginia law permitted me to record a conversation to which I was a party. I placed my phone inside my purse with the recorder active. Ryan sat in a rear booth. His coffee remained untouched. "You look tired," he said. "You asked me here." He rubbed both hands over his face. "My father will withdraw the suit." "What does he want?" "You remove the bank restriction. You stop the audit. You sign a statement saying the electronic signatures were authorized. That statement would be false. It would keep the company alive. It would place the fraud in my name." Ryan leaned closer. "No one is asking you to take responsibility. You are asking me to authenticate my signature, only long enough to settle the lender." "How long?" 6 months. "Why 6 months?" I asked. Ryan's gaze moved toward the window. "We need breathing room." "To refinance?" "To stabilize everything. And after 6 months? We fix the records." "You cannot fix forged records." His jaw tightened. "You do not understand how businesses survive." "I understand that you entered my email, moved my security alerts, and attached your phone to my signing account." Color drained from his face. "You cannot prove that. You just told me I needed to authorize the signatures after the fact. I am trying to protect both of us." "No. You are trying to make me part of it." Ryan lowered his voice. "My father has spent his entire life building that company. And how many families will spend their lives inside houses?" he weakened. His eyes sharpened. "Samuel contacted you." I had not said Samuel's name. "Why would you think that?" I asked. Ryan sat back. "You were never supposed to understand this part." "What part?" "The part where doing the right thing destroys everyone." "You mean destroys the Caldwells?" "I mean destroys our marriage. That happened when you used my name." Ryan's hand flattened against the table. "If Friday goes badly, my father loses the company. My mother loses the house. Employees lose jobs. Families lose projects. Is that what you want attached to your conscience? You forged my signature and attached it to defective homes. Keep your voice down." I am speaking softly. Then he said, "Judge Pike understands what is at stake." There it was again. Not hope that Pike would listen. Certainty that Pike would help. Ryan stood. "Sign the statement by tonight," he said. "After that, I cannot protect you." Rachel listened to the recording twice. "He admitted the signatures need retroactive authorization," she said. "He revealed knowledge of Samuel, and he implied Pike is aligned with them. Is it enough?" "Enough to hurt him, not enough to stop Friday." That evening, Rachel went to the courthouse to file our response before the deadline. At 8:40, Rachel called. I watched Caldwell's lawyer hand something to Pike's clerk at the rear entrance. Was the clerk still working? The courthouse was closed. What was in the package? I could not see. The electronic docket updated after midnight. A new expert report appeared, stamped as received the previous evening. Rachel's automatic notice arrived hours after the stated filing time. The report claimed my signatures were authentic. Its author had never examined the original provider logs. He relied entirely on records supplied by Ryan. Judge Pike accepted the report before our objection could be heard. Samuel called at dawn. His voice shook. "They fired me," he said. "Someone told Scott I copied the files. Are you safe? For now. Do not meet anyone from Caldwell alone." Samuel inhaled slowly. "There is one more thing. A video." "What video?" "A management meeting. Evelyn said why they kept using you in the advertisements." Evelyn appeared at the head of a conference table, perfectly composed. "Keep Nicole in the photographs," she said. "People trust a black woman in uniform more than they trust contractors." Scott's voice followed from outside the frame. "Then make sure she never sees the real numbers." The video ended. The knowledge left a metallic taste in my mouth, sharper than fear and colder than betrayal. For years I had mistaken their invitations for acceptance. They had never brought me into the family. They had placed me in front of it like a flag, while they stole behind my back. They had placed me in front of the company like a flag while they stole behind my back. Samuel's video remained frozen on my screen. Evelyn's mouth was still curved in that careful public smile, the one she wore at galas, church luncheons, and every event where donors needed to believe the Caldwell name meant decency. Rachel sat across from me in her conference room. "Play it again," she said. I pressed the button. Evelyn's voice filled the room. "Keep Nicole in the photographs. People trust a black woman in uniform more than they trust contractors." Scott answered from somewhere beyond the camera. "Then make sure she never sees the real numbers." The recording ended. Rachel folded her hands. "Samuel must authenticate this. We need the original file, the device that captured it, and a sworn statement describing when and where it was recorded. He was fired this morning. That makes him vulnerable. It also makes him angry. Anger is useful until opposing counsel calls it revenge." I looked at Samuel's photographs spread across the table. Cracked foundations, cheap roofing, altered inspection sheets. "He is not doing this because he hates them," I said. "He is doing it because those houses are unsafe." "Then that is what he must say under oath." Samuel arrived an hour later wearing the same work jacket from our first meeting. Dust clung to the seams. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. Rachel placed a blank evidence receipt beside the laptop. "Do you still have the original phone?" she asked. "Yes." "Has anyone else handled it?" "My wife looked at the video once. No one touched the file." "Did you edit it?" "No." "Did you send it through a messaging application?" "No. I copied the original file to the drive." Rachel nodded. "We will preserve both devices and create verified copies. You keep possession until the technician documents transfer." Samuel rubbed his thumb over the edge of the phone. "Scott said I stole company property." "Did you remove anything you were not authorized to access?" Rachel asked. "I kept copies of reports I wrote and photographs I took on company sites." "Good. Do not exaggerate, do not guess. The truth is strong enough." Samuel looked at me. "They are telling people you used me." "No," I said. "They are telling people whatever keeps them in control." His shoulders lowered slightly. "I will sign the statement." Rachel spent the next 2 hours walking him through dates, names, and the location of each meeting. Every time Samuel drifted into opinion, she brought him back to what he saw, heard, photographed, or wrote. By late afternoon, his declaration was complete. The next evidence arrived from the electronic signature provider. Rachel's technician opened the original access records on a large monitor. Rows of dates and device identifiers filled the screen. My account had been accessed from the internet connection at our home while I was more than 100 miles away. The authentication code had gone to Ryan's phone. The signing device matched his company laptop. My access card showed me entering a secured Army facility 7 minutes before one of the fraudulent documents was signed. Rachel pointed at the screen. "This places him at the account and you somewhere else." The technician opened another file. "Here is the mailbox activity." A rule had been created through Ryan's administrator credentials. Any message containing security alert, password reset, verification, or authentication was diverted into a hidden archive. Minutes after each forged signature, the corresponding warning email was deleted. One message remained inside the provider's legal retention system. The subject line read, Your recovery telephone number has been changed. The new number belonged to Ryan. A slow pressure built beneath my ribs. Ryan had not found an old password and made one desperate mistake. He had built a process. Enter my mailbox. Hide the warning. Move the code. Sign my name. Delete the trail. Then swear under oath that I was lying. Rachel printed the activity report. This is deliberate concealment. Will Pike admit it? Rachel's expression did not change. He may try not to. Thomas called before sunset. I close the loop, he said. He shared a diagram of the transfers. Caldwell Construction paid North Star Procurement. North Star paid Heritage Consulting. Heritage sent money to a private real estate company owned by Scott. That company paid overdue interest on Scott's failed development project. Another stream covered Evelyn's resort expenses. A third went into an account Ryan used for a condominium deposit. I stared at the address. The condominium stood 20 minutes from our house. Ryan had toured it 4 months earlier, according to the real estate records. Before I questioned a single invoice, before I discovered a single false signature, before he told the court our marriage collapsed because I attacked his family, he planned somewhere to live, I said. Rachel looked at the transfer date. He planned where to put your money, too. The final transfer was smaller than the others, but it carried the clearest meaning. Ryan had used funds tied to my forged signature to pay the condominium deposit. There was no frightened husband trapped between his wife and father. There was a man preparing an exit while attaching the debt to my name. I removed my wedding ring in Rachel's office. The skin beneath it looked pale and soft, protected from sunlight for 10 years. Rachel watched me place it on the table. Are you ready for what comes next? She asked. No, I said. File anyway. The divorce petition went to the clerk before closing. Rachel asked the court to preserve marital financial records and prohibit either party from transferring disputed assets. At home, I changed the locks through a licensed locksmith and saved the invoice. Ryan's recorded entry into my office gave us a documented reason. The house sounded different after the locksmith left. Every latch clicked harder. Every room carried an unfamiliar emptiness. I placed the ring inside a kitchen drawer. My phone rang. Evelyn's name appeared. I answered because silence had already given her enough places to hide. What have you done? Evelyn asked. I filed for divorce. You filed before the hearing? Yes. You are proving everything Ryan said about you. What did he say? That you wanted to punish us. I disputed stolen signatures. You could have handled that privately. You filed a public lawsuit. Evelyn lowered her voice. Families survive by protecting one another. You used my face to protect stolen money. Her breath caught. So Samuel gave you the video. You knew about it? That man recorded private conversations. You told the room my color and uniform made people trust you. I was discussing public perception. You were discussing how to use me. We gave you a family. You gave me a place in the photograph. Evelyn's voice hardened. If you release that recording, you will destroy Ryan. Ryan destroyed himself when he signed my name. You do not know what Scott will do if cornered. The line went dead. That warning reached me less than an hour before Judge Pike denied our request to compel the original provider records. His written ruling called the data untimely and marginal. On the same page, he accepted Caldwell's expert report based on copies supplied by Ryan. Rachel read the ruling beside me. He is keeping authentic records out while accepting altered ones. Can we appeal before Friday? Not fast enough. A notification arrived from the court docket. Judge Pike had moved the hearing earlier by 2 hours. Then another document appeared. A proposed order bearing Friday's date had already been uploaded into the internal system. The hearing had not happened. Our evidence had not been heard. Yet Pike's order was waiting for a signature. Rachel downloaded the docket page, proposed order, and timestamps. She sent copies to an archive and asked the court reporter's office to preserve communications. Why would Pike upload a ruling before hearing us? I asked. Because he expects nothing said on Friday to change it. My stomach tightened, but my hands stayed steady. What does the order give them? Rachel read from the screen. Full operational control, access to company servers, authority to replace accountants, permission to notify the lender that restrictions were dissolved. And my copies? You would be ordered to surrender them. The language did not mention destruction. It did not need to. Once Scott controlled the servers and Ryan controlled the accounts, evidence could disappear behind claims of maintenance, corrupted backups, or duplicate files. Rachel closed the document. We will file an emergency objection tonight. Will Pike read it? He may not. Someone above him might. I looked at the creation time. The order had been drafted before Samuel signed his declaration, before the access logs arrived, and before Thomas completed the money trail. Judge Pike was not preparing to weigh evidence. He was preparing to outrun it. Across town, someone inside the courthouse had finally realized the same thing. By Friday morning, Judge Pike had already written the order that would hand Scott and Ryan the company servers, restore their access to the bank, and force me to surrender every copy of the evidence. He simply had not signed it yet. Cold rain streaked the windshield as I drove from the Army inspection site toward Fairfax Ridge County Circuit Court. Damp wool pressed against my shoulders, carrying the smell of rain and metal. The pale wedding ring mark on my left hand brushed the steering wheel. Colonel Reed had approved the uniform in writing, and Army Legal had notified the court. Still, my stomach tightened when the courthouse appeared. Reporters waited beneath umbrellas near the steps. Evelyn stood among them in a cream coat, while Ryan held one hand against her back. Scott watched me enter. Rachel met me inside the security checkpoint. Pike denied our final objection at 7 this morning, she said. Did he explain why? He called the provider logs cumulative. They prove Ryan signed in from his own computer. I know. Rachel handed me a folder. Inside were the access logs, Samuel's declaration, Thomas Grant's tracing report, and proof that I had disclosed my investment to the Army. What are the chances Pike lets us use any of it? I asked. Today is not about what he once admitted. It is about making the record impossible to erase. The courtroom smelled of old wood, wet coats, and floor wax. Lights hummed while benches creaked. Ryan sat between his parents. He wore the navy suit from our anniversary dinner. Candlelight and his promise that no Caldwell would make me feel like an outsider returned. Then he whispered to Scott, and they smiled. Judge Pike entered at 9:14. You may be seated, Pike said. Caldwell's attorney began with Ryan. Ryan swore to tell the truth, then calmly described me as controlling, suspicious, and obsessed with his family's business. My wife began treating ordinary decisions like military operations, Ryan said. She demanded access to everything. Rachel rose. Major Hayes had inspection rights under the shareholder agreement. Pike tapped his pen. You will have your turn, counsel, Ryan continued. He claimed I had approved the disputed signatures, then changed my story after our marriage deteriorated. Caldwell's attorney held up the expert report based on records Ryan supplied. Did Major Hayes ever allow you to manage the electronic signing account? The attorney asked. Yes, Ryan said. Did she authorize the documents at issue? Yes. Rachel wrote something on her legal pad, then turned it so I could read. Let him commit. Ryan said I had threatened the bank with Army contacts and wanted the company because I believed his parents were beneath me. When Caldwell's attorney finished, Rachel approached the lectern. Mr. Caldwell, which telephone received the authentication codes for my client's signatures? Ryan glanced at Pike. My wife's account received them. That was not my question. Pike leaned forward. Counsel, do not badger the witness. Rachel kept her eyes on Ryan. Which telephone? Ryan swallowed. I do not remember. Rachel lifted the provider record. This document identifies your number. Caldwell's attorney stood. Objection. That material was produced late. Sustained, Pike said. Rachel lowered the page. Did you create a mail rule diverting security notices from Major Hayes' corporate inbox? Ryan looked toward me. No. Did you enter her home after midnight to search for a forensic report? Objection, Caldwell's attorney said. Pike did not wait for a reason. Sustained. Rachel returned to our table. Ryan stepped down, believing silence meant victory. Scott testified next. He called the supplier payments routine and the private loan necessary. Caldwell's attorney asked whether my bank notice threatened employee jobs. It threatened everything, Scott said. Payroll, projects, families. Rachel rose for cross-examination. Did you disclose the private loan to Major Hayes before pledging shares connected to her investment? Scott's jaw shifted. The company was authorized to borrow. Did she approve use of her electronic signature? She had approved similar transactions. That is not an answer. Pike struck his gavel once. Major Hayes is not on trial for fraud, counsel. The question is whether her interference is causing immediate harm. Rachel looked at Pike. The alleged harm depends on whether the transactions were lawful. I have ruled. Scott stepped down. Evelyn was not called. Her tears worked from the front bench. Rachel rose to present our evidence. Your Honor, the defense calls Samuel Reed. Pike glanced at the clock. We will not hear cumulative witnesses. His declaration concerns altered inspection reports and defective materials. This is not a construction defect hearing. It establishes motive for concealment. Pike closed the file before him. Denied. Rachel asked to admit the provider's original logs. Denied. Thomas Grant's tracing report. Denied. The video of Evelyn discussing my race and uniform as marketing assets. Denied. Each refusal landed heavily. Then Pike looked at me. Major Hayes, stand. I rose. Fabric tightened across my knees. A camera clicked behind me. Pike studied my uniform. You arrived in military dress for a private business dispute. My duty schedule changed after the hearing was moved, I said. My command authorized the uniform, and counsel notified the clerk in writing. Rachel held up the notice. Pike did not look at it. You expect this court to be impressed by rank? No, Your Honor. You expect lenders to be intimidated by it? No. His gaze moved over my face, then down my uniform again. That uniform can't hide your skin color. The courtroom stopped breathing. Rain ticked against the tall windows. A woman in the gallery covered her mouth. Ryan stared at the table. Evelyn did not move. Scott's eyes remained fixed on Pike. My hands wanted to curl, but I kept them open. The court reporter's fingers were still moving. Every word was being taken down. Pike leaned back. Your attempt to wrap personal aggression in public service does not change what this court sees. Rachel stood. Your Honor, I move for immediate recusal. Denied. I ask that the record reflect the court's exact statement. The reporter knows her job. I also renew our objection based on bias. Pike's face darkened. One more interruption, and I will hold you in contempt. I did not speak. Pike expected anger, something he could call unstable or threatening. Silence gave him nothing except the sound of his own words settling into the record. He opened the proposed order. The court finds that Major Hayes' actions present an immediate threat to Caldwell Construction. Evelyn reached for Ryan's hand. Scott took out his phone beneath the table. My phone vibrated inside Rachel's bag. Rachel glanced at the screen. A preserved message from Scott had reached Thomas. Order coming in minutes. Tell lender control is restored. Scott knew the result before Pike signed. Pike continued reading. Operational authority shall be restored to Scott Caldwell and Ryan Caldwell. Major Hayes shall cease all communications with financial institutions and project sponsors. All company records in her possession shall be surrendered. Rachel leaned toward me. He is reading the draft uploaded yesterday. Laura Benton's chair was empty. A younger clerk sat there, pale and rigid. Pike lifted his pen. The bailiff's radio crackled. He listened, then approached the bench. Your Honor, the bailiff said. The Chief Judge's office is requesting an immediate pause. Pike covered the microphone with one hand. Do they have a signed order? I was told it is on the way. Then there is no order before me. The bailiff hesitated. They asked that you not sign anything. Pike uncovered the microphone. This court will proceed. He lowered the pen. The rear doors opened. A deputy sheriff entered first. The court executive followed with a technology officer carrying a sealed case. Chief Judge Miriam Caldwell walked behind them. Despite the shared surname, she was not related to Scott's family. Pike froze. Chief Judge Caldwell crossed the room with a stamped folder. Raymond, she said, put down the pen. This is my courtroom, Pike replied. Not for this case. She placed the emergency administrative order on the bench. Pike looked at the signature, the seal, and the time printed at the top. Chief Judge Caldwell turned toward the room. This hearing is suspended. Then she looked directly at Pike. Judge, step down from the bench. Now. His smile vanished. For the first time that morning, Scott Caldwell looked afraid. Chief Judge Caldwell's order lay across the bench between Pike's hands. Rain whispered against the windows. The deputy sheriff stood beside the aisle. The technology officer waited with the sealed case. Pike looked at the document. This is unnecessary, he said. Chief Judge Caldwell did not raise her voice. The order is effective as of 9:26 this morning. You are removed from this matter. Your access to the electronic docket has been suspended. All devices assigned to your chambers are to be preserved. Pike straightened beneath his robe. You are humiliating this court. We attempted to reach you privately. I was presiding. You were told to pause. Pike glanced toward the unsigned order. Chief Judge Caldwell followed his eyes. You will not touch that pen. The deputy sheriff stepped closer. Pike's face hardened. On whose accusation? Chief Judge Caldwell opened the stamped folder. An affidavit from your clerk, central audit records, internal email, the altered filing history, the disabled notice to defense counsel, a proposed ruling created before this hearing began. Scott's phone disappeared into his pocket. Ryan leaned toward him, but Scott did not look away from the bench. Pike pointed toward Laura Benton's empty chair. She handled the filing. Chief Judge Caldwell removed another page. This email directs Miss Benton to make yesterday's date work. Pike's finger lowered. Rachel rose. Chief Judge, may the record reflect that the presiding judge made a racially biased statement to my client moments before attempting to sign the disputed order? Pike turned toward her. That remark has been deliberately distorted. Chief Judge Caldwell looked at the court reporter. Read it back. The reporter's chair creaked. Judge Pike's own words returned to the room in a clear, even voice. That uniform can't hide your skin color. Nothing softened them the second time. Pike stared at the bench. Chief Judge Caldwell closed the folder. Step down. He moved slowly, gathering the edge of his robe and reaching for the case file. The court executive spoke. Leave the file. It is no longer in your custody. Pike's hand stopped. Then he descended from the bench. He had looked larger from above. On the courtroom floor, he was only a man in a black robe, avoiding everyone's eyes. He passed within a few feet of me. My pulse struck hard against my throat, but I kept my face still and watched him surrender the height he had used against me in front of everyone. The technology officer sealed Pike's laptop while the deputy sheriff escorted him through the side door. Chief Judge Caldwell addressed the room. No party has prevailed today. This matter will be reassigned. An independent judge will determine temporary control, evidence preservation, and financial restrictions. Scott stood. Chief Judge, our company cannot survive another delay. That is an argument for the next judge, she said. Our lender is waiting. Then your counsel may explain why a lender knew the expected ruling before it was signed. Scott went still. Rachel had already preserved his message. The hearing resumed that afternoon before Judge Elena Morales, who entered with no prepared ruling and no patience for performance. Judge Morales read the shareholder agreement first. Then she reviewed the preservation requests, the disputed signatures, and the pending loan deadline. Neither side will control these records alone, Judge Morales said. An independent receiver will take temporary operational custody. Caldwell's attorney rose. That would cripple the company. Judge Morales looked at him. It will prevent either side from crippling it. Her order kept payroll active, froze transfers to the 3 suppliers, barred destruction of data, and required Scott and Ryan to surrender company devices before leaving the courthouse. I received inspection access through the receiver. I did not receive ownership. Scott had told everyone I wanted his company. The new order showed I wanted the records protected. While the clerk entered the ruling, Scott slipped into the hallway with his phone. Thomas called Rachel less than 5 minutes later. The bank just blocked an attempted transfer, he said. How much? Rachel asked. Nearly everything remaining in the disputed operating account. I heard Rachel's pen stop. Destination? North Star Procurement. Judge Morales had signed the freeze 3 minutes before Scott made the request. The bank's automatic alert went directly to the receiver. Scott returned to the courtroom without knowing the transfer had become evidence. The following Monday, Judge Morales held an evidentiary hearing. Ryan took the stand again. This time, the provider's original records were admitted. A forensic technician projected the timeline onto a screen. My access card recorded me entering the Army facility. 7 minutes later, Ryan's laptop opened my signing account from our home network. His phone received the authentication code. His administrator credentials diverted the warning email. His device signed the loan documents. Ryan watched the sequence appear line by line. Rachel approached the witness stand. Did Major Hayes authorize you to use her identity? Ryan gripped the rail. She allowed me to manage business accounts. Did she authorize this loan? We discussed financing. That was not my question. Ryan looked toward Scott. Judge Morales spoke. Answer counsel. No, Ryan said. Rachel displayed his message to an employee. Do not call Nicole to verify. Once her name is on it, the lender cannot touch us. Did you write that? Rachel asked. Ryan's mouth moved before sound came. Yes. Did you enter Major Hayes's house after midnight to search for a forensic report? Caldwell's attorney objected. Judge Morales overruled him. Ryan's eyes shifted toward me. Yes. Why? I thought she had taken company records. She had lawful inspection rights. Ryan said nothing. Rachel returned to our table. Evelyn testified after lunch. She wore pearls and spoke softly. I handled public relations, Evelyn said. I did not understand financing. Rachel played Samuel's video. Evelyn's recorded voice filled the courtroom. Keep Nicole in the photographs. People trust a black woman in uniform more than they trust contractors. Evelyn closed her eyes. The recording continued. Then make sure she never sees the real numbers, Scott said. Rachel paused the video. Did you attend that meeting? Yes. Did you direct staff to use Major Hayes's race and uniform to gain public trust? I used unfortunate wording. Did you order photographs of cracked foundations removed before a donor inspection? No. Rachel displayed Evelyn's email. Delete the damaged site images before Thursday. Nicole stays on the opening slide. Evelyn stared at the screen. Samuel stood in the gallery behind us. Rachel asked, "Did you know the materials failed specification?" Evelyn's voice weakened. I knew there were concerns. Did you tell donors? No. Did you tell Major Hayes? No. Did you continue using her image? Evelyn looked at me. Yes. Thomas testified last. He traced money from Caldwell Construction through North Star, then Heritage Consulting, then Scott's private development company. A second stream paid Evelyn's resort expenses. A third funded Ryan's condominium deposit. Scott shook his head. That money supported business development. Thomas opened the private loan records. No. The loan covered losses from your personal real estate project. Even Ryan turned toward his father. Thomas continued. When that project failed, Mr. Caldwell used company money to service the debt. The supplier invoices created the appearance of legitimate construction expenses. Scott rose from his chair. That is false. Judge Morales struck the bench. Sit down. Thomas displayed the canceled check from North Star. Scott's endorsement appeared on the back. Then Thomas showed the attempted transfer made minutes after the freeze. Scott sat slowly. The family's final defense had been that desperate decisions were made to save the company. The records showed something else. Scott had hollowed out the company to save himself. A prosecutor's investigator waited in the hallway when the hearing ended. Scott blocked my path near the elevators. You can still stop this, he said. Tell them it was a family misunderstanding. You forged my name, I said. Ryan did that. You built the reason. Evelyn began crying behind him. Scott lowered his voice. If I go down, everyone loses. No, I said. The people you used finally stopped paying for you. Two investigators approached. Mr. Caldwell, one said. We need you to come with us. Scott looked at Ryan. Ryan stepped back. As they led him away, the elevator doors opened behind me. For the first time in 10 years, no Caldwell stood between me and the way out. The elevator doors closed on Scott Caldwell, while Evelyn stood in the hallway with one hand pressed to her mouth. Ryan stared at the floor. No one spoke until the metal doors sealed and carried Scott toward the investigators below. Rachel touched my elbow. We are not finished, she said. I knew. Exposure was not punishment. Evidence still had to survive people trying to rename deliberate crimes as family mistakes. The receiver took control of Caldwell Construction before sunset. Company servers were copied. Accounting access was restricted. Every payment required independent approval. Samuel returned the next morning with his original inspection reports. He placed them on the receiver's conference table one by one. These are the versions I signed, Samuel said. The failed items were removed afterward. The receiver compared them against the company files. Foundation failures had vanished. Roofing substitutions had been rewritten as approved equivalents. Photographs of cracked concrete had been deleted from shared folders, but remained in archived backups. Scott had not only stolen money, he had erased warnings that could have protected families. Within 2 weeks, prosecutors charged him with bank fraud, conspiracy, falsifying business records, and unlawful transfer of company funds. The attempted transfer after the freeze became evidence against him. Scott accepted nothing quietly. Through his attorney, he claimed Ryan had handled electronic records and Evelyn had controlled public statements. Ryan answered by offering cooperation. He requested a meeting at the prosecutor's office. The room smelled of stale coffee and copier heat. Ryan wore no tie. His hands trembled around a paper cup. My father designed the transfers, Ryan said. I can prove it. Rachel opened her notebook. Choose your words carefully. Ryan looked at me. I was trying to keep the company alive. You bought a condominium, I said. His face tightened. I needed somewhere to go if things collapsed. You prepared your escape with money tied to my forged signature. I did not think it would reach this point. You broke into our home after filing a sworn statement against me. Ryan lowered his eyes. My father said the loan would be refinanced. You hid my security alerts. I panicked. For 3 months? Silence filled the room. Ryan pushed a folder toward Rachel. Inside were messages between him and Scott, instructions to move supplier payments, and drafts of the false expert report. I can help convict him, Ryan said. Rachel closed the folder. That may reduce your sentence. It does not erase your conduct. Ryan turned to me. Nicole, tell them I never meant to destroy you. The pale band where my wedding ring had rested was almost gone. You used my name because you thought destroying me would cost less than telling the truth. He flinched. I left before he could ask for forgiveness. Ryan later pleaded guilty to identity theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy. He received prison time, lost his shares, and was barred from managing public funds. Our divorce became final while he awaited transfer. He signed the papers without contesting my separate investment or the house. Evelyn fought longer. She insisted she had understood nothing about the money, but Samuel's video and her emails proved she knew defective work had been hidden. Donors withdrew. Veterans groups removed her from advisory boards. A civic organization rescinded her prized award. Evelyn eventually pleaded guilty to making false statements to the bank and helping conceal fraudulent project reports. The court ordered restitution. Assets purchased with diverted money were sold. Her final call reached me on a quiet Sunday afternoon. You destroyed the Caldwell name, Evelyn said. No, I replied. I stopped lending you mine. I ended the call and blocked her number. Judge Pike's fall moved more slowly, but it moved. Laura Benton testified before the Judicial Commission. Audit records confirmed he had pressured her to alter the docket and suppress notice to Rachel. The courtroom transcript preserved his words about my skin. Earlier cases involving Scott's companies were reopened for review. Pike lost his position. His law license was suspended, and prosecutors examined obstruction and record tampering charges. The last photograph I saw of him showed him entering the courthouse through public doors. No robe. No private entrance. No elevated bench. Caldwell Construction survived under the receiver, though the name did not. Scott's shares and Ryan's shares were sold to fund restitution and repairs. Employees received the first opportunity to purchase ownership under Scott's agreement. He had dismissed the clause because he believed workers would never use it. The receiver arranged financing. For once, the people who built the company were allowed to own its future. Samuel became independent quality supervisor. Every affected home was inspected. Cracked foundations were repaired. Defective roofing was replaced. Families received written guarantees instead of apologies. My original investment and legal costs were returned after victims were protected. I served temporarily on the oversight committee, then resigned. The company did not need another Caldwell or another Hayes controlling it. It needed people willing to answer for what they built. Months later, I attended the final repaired home's dedication. Fresh paint carried a clean, sharp scent. Hammers struck behind the house. Children ran across new grass while their parents held the keys. Workers removed the old company sign from a temporary trailer. One letter fell into the dirt. Samuel looked toward me. You could have taken the company, he said. I never wanted it. You saved it. I watched a family enter a home that would no longer crack beneath them. I saved the people they were willing to bury under it. A letter from Ryan arrived that evening. He asked me to preserve the Caldwell name because it was his family's legacy. I gave the letter to Rachel for the case file. The next morning, workers installed the new sign. No family name appeared on it. They sued me to steal back a company they said belonged to their blood. In the end, the only thing left carrying the Caldwell name was the criminal case.